What's up, guys? So today on the podcast, we have Master Ken from Enter the Dojo. So for you guys that are, big martial arts geeks, and if you were, into jiu-jitsu, especially jiu-jitsu, back in 1993, you had the UFC, and that was one of the most, groundbreaking moments of martial arts because we got to see this, guy in a gi who was smaller than the guys that he was fighting go into Gracie, go into this event and dismantle all these traditional strikers, right? Like karate guys and everything else. And then, I think it was around 2012, there was this show that came out on YouTube and it was called Enter the Dojo. And again, it was one of those groundbreaking moments where, we as traditional martial artists realized that a lot of what we were doing is just complete bullshit. And so we wanted to have Master Ken on as he's developed this really intricate and effective street lethal system called Ameri-Do-Te. So we do a little bit of an interview with him and talk about some of the things that he has going on, where he came up with the system, and some of his views on other traditional martial arts and what he thinks about them. I think you might have an idea as to what he thinks about them, but it's an interesting conversation. It's a little bit of a short one, so not too long. And with that said, let's get started.
I like your posters back there.
Yeah, so do I. Which ones? Oh, this one for sure.
Yeah. What's that one? Let me see that one. Is that lethal techniques right there? Getting ready to be spawned upon people?
Yeah, that's a fire claw. And then,
fire claw. I like the blood sport one actually.
Yeah, that's a vintage. That's an original. Somebody folded it, but otherwise it's in great shape. It would be fair. If it was a comic book, it would be fair. Not mint, not near mint. It would be fair to bad.
Wow.
Which is how people sometimes describe my show.
Yeah, Master Ken, what was do you have any favorite movies, any inspirations behind your techniques?
Yeah, sure, I'll watch. I mean, anything. I'll watch anything. Not anything. I'll watch various kung fu movies. I watch everybody's stuff so that I can tell what they're doing wrong.
Okay.
So what do you think the biggest problem that jiu-jitsu practitioners have? Because that's obviously, my main area of focus. What do they do wrong?
Aside from studying jiu-jitsu in the first place?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. I would say there's not nearly enough groin play.
Mm-hmm.
I say play in the term that in practicing you can't actually destroy the groin in sparring because you can only do that once.
Yeah.
We figured that out eventually.
Yeah.
I would say ignoring the groin, ignoring vital areas. Like in a jiu-jitsu tournament, I never see anybody gouge any eyes. I never see anybody shove a thumb down somebody's throat. I hardly ever see anybody go for the anus.
Yeah. Well,
there's so many available targets there. It's just wasted opportunity.
So what do you would just say? Like you've seen those monks that can like get hit in the groin and they can just like take it. How do you deal with that?
I mean, it's not like the thing when you're fighting a eunuch is that.
Wait, are they eunuch? I don't think
that's what I assume. I mean, I don't understand how they basically are. I mean, right? Because how could you have anything down there and get struck and not feel it?
I mean, it's a skill, I guess, right?
I mean, I guess that's like saying that you've had your leg amputated is a skill. I understand that being, they probably I would assume they have phantom groin feelings.
Yeah.
They've had it removed, and then sometimes they wake up in the night and feel as if they still have a groin.
Kind of like a amputee feels the leg if the leg's been amputated.
Exactly. They reach down and there's just nothing there. But that doesn't, just because someone doesn't have a groin that they can be attacked, doesn't mean that they can't be hurt or killed.
Yeah.
They still have a brain. They still have a heart. They still have other vital targets. It's like if I were to fight a fish, right?
I don't know.
Fishes don't have groins. At least not that I've seen. I've caught several fish, and I've never seen a groin hanging off of a fish. That doesn't mean I have never killed a fish.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah.
So while the groin is always the ideal target to go after, it's not the only target, is the point.
So, okay. How would you deal with someone that wears a cup?
Well, that's what conditioning is for.
You know, bust through the cup.
Yeah, exactly. Punch through it. I mean, what's the point of all those karate guys breaking bricks if they're not going to go around punching through cups? I assume some of them are actually involved in masonry, and it's a practical choice for their job.
Sure.
But, you know, for those of you, you know, those carpenters who can't afford a saw, they just break the boards.
Probably a little bit easier. You could just use the hand instead of actually having to use another tool.
Yeah, you know, just having to saw through things instead of just right through. It's quicker. Yeah. Plus, if you ever encounter anybody who's wearing a bunch of bricks, you know, you're set.
Yeah.
I've never encountered that myself.
Now, as a lifetime martial artist, what's been whether it be a fight or a competition, what's been the toughest match for you or fight for you?
I would say my last couple of belt promotions, because since nobody is advanced enough to give me a real challenge, I have to fight myself. And I always know it's hard because I always know what I'm going to do. Okay. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, that's the real art. There's a particular brand of techniques I call jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu. Where I just sort of, where like, you know, I'll be ready for a promotion and just look, you know, I'll look in the mirror at myself, and next thing I know, just, you know, suddenly got to get into it with me.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what I'm going to do before I do it, before I even think it. That's real advanced stuff. So I would say I'm definitely the toughest opponent I've ever fought.
Now, your belt, you said belt promotions. I remember at one point you were at an 11th degree black belt. What are you now?
Well, I would tell you how to pronounce it, but you break your tongue. Basically, at this point, what I've chosen to do, I still got my 11th. Can you see that here?
Yeah, I can see that.
Still got my 11th, and then I've got a Grand Master belt here that was surrendered to me in New York. In Jamaica, New York, somebody handed that belt to me and said that they were giving up their apprenticeship in Kempo. Which obviously is bullshit, and said that they were just going to dedicate their lives to studying Ameri-Do-Te, so they said they didn't need the belt anymore. So ultimately, I consider myself a Grand Master, but I'm going to be doing a custom belt this year.
Okay.
To represent what level I'm at. It's just hard to fit that many colors into one belt. It's like when you look at it's like when you see a rainbow and you can only see some of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get unseeable colors printed.
So are you kind of like it's like a martial artist Highlander, right? So you go up to this Kempo guy. Do you absorb his powers after he surrenders his belt to you?
I will say I felt better.
Yeah.
After I got it. That might have been because I had just eaten and maybe had some energy there also. But I whenever anybody admits that they've been wasting their life on another martial art and concedes that I am the best and the greatest, that always feels good.
Sure.
Oh man, there's so much to take in. There's so much.
I've heard that more than once.
So tell me your inspiration for Ameri-Do-Te. How did you get started?
Well, the main reason I did it was because I had studied various other martial arts. I think I actually was born with the concept, and it was just a matter of refining it. It's like that. It's like if a sculptor could give birth to a block of wood and then carve it into a person.
So it's already there waiting for it to be carved.
Exactly. It just sort of I had to use. It's like the other martial arts were my whittling tools, whatever they use, and just sort of chipping away at it until I realized that ultimately the art of Ameri-Do-Te was inside me the whole time. It just had to be refined. And so, different life experiences have taught me different techniques. I learned the hurricane. I don't know if you've seen the hurricane, where I sort of throw a lot of techniques in different directions at different times. I came up with that technique after my first seizure, and realized that when I came to, a lot of people were hurt, and I thought, well, I could use this. I could do that on purpose next time, just sort of clear a room if I needed to. So it's sort of just taking the life lessons and opportunities that are presented to me and weaponizing them.
Now, you were talking about the hurricane. Where did the kill face come from?
Kill face had a lot of bad gas. One particular time, some gastritis, and held it in too long to the point where it wasn't able to exit the way it was supposed to, so it came out of my face. And that was another thing that once I saw the damage that it did, I thought I could use this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm so confused right now. I don't even know.
Well, it's a lot, as you said, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to understand.
Well, especially for like jiu-jitsu guys like us, because we're so indoctrinated to, to fight on the ground, to grapple, to do these things. And so you're talking about some really different techniques like, kill faces, hurricanes. These are things that we just don't practice. So it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, groin strikes. Those are.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's sort of, it's like being blind your whole life and then suddenly being able to smell.
So, yeah. So when you have a student come to your dojo, what do you look for? What do you look for in a student, and then how do you know that they're ready to get promoted to a next belt?
I would say the most important thing whenever I have a new student that I need to be sure of is that the check is going to clear.
Yeah.
Don't ever sign them up. Don't commit them, and then find out you got a return fee or a bounce check. Okay, that's the main thing. They have to be able to pay for class. The second one is malleability. That's a French word that means to bend. And if you can't bend somebody into the student or the position that you want them to be in, then you can't mess with them. Somebody comes in really strong-minded, and they're sure they already know martial arts. They say they got black belts and they got military training and whatever else. A lot of times I just send them away. Right. It's going to take so much time to fix and unteach them all that bullshit. I like fresh minds. I like, it's like when, how they burn the forest, and then when they burn the forest, the next planting season, the soil is very rich.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And then the season after, you can't use it at all. So that's what I do, is I sort of burn my students down, and then I enrich them with Ameri-Do-Te. And then once the next season, when they're useless again, I get rid of them again. And then I burn another forest. Kind
of like a form of brainwashing.
I would say programming.
Programming. Okay. Fair enough.
The way you program a computer, you get a computer from the computer farm, and it doesn't have anything on it. Doesn't do anything. You got to put programs in it, right? So I program my students to rip throats, grab groins, and generally wreak havoc.
And then, especially in today's culture with a lot of the, people that are very sensitive, and there's a lot of outrage at times over things. The belt promotion practice, I don't know if you still do it, where you would, choke someone unconscious and then stripe them. Do you still do that? And have you had people sort of get some blowback towards you for that?
Well, it's evolved. I don't just, lower level belts, I'll just choke them out and then put a stripe. But it's grown into quite an arduous process. I think the main thing is to not listen to sissies. I think that generally people who get that upset about a belt promotion or whatever it is they're too delicate. They shouldn't be in the training anyway, because they're just too delicate. As far as outrage goes, outrage can be a tool also. Because every time I come out and let people know that another martial art is bullshit, a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, people want to know what's going on. So sometimes you gotta get people's attention, whether it's by grabbing them right by the groin or offending them in some way. So it can be used as a positive tool.
Have any of those martial artists approached your dojo and challenged you to a fight?
Oh, I get challenges all the time.
How does it happen? Well, how does it end up? How does it turn out?
Well, I'm still, you see any scars? I look good.
Yeah.
A lot of them won't sign the waiver. That's the thing. I have a legal document that I insist they read and sign.
How long is it?
I have a copy of it here. Hang on. I think that's all of it. It's not
okay.
It's not fully organized, but I need to make copies.
Very
but
brief.
it's about this. They have to read it. That's the thing, and I just tell them as soon as you read it and sign it, we'll go at it, and then I leave, and then 3 hours later I come back and they've left.
Yeah,
because they're afraid.
Yeah. Let me go down a little list, and you can tell me what is the most bullshit thing about each martial art.
You got it.
We'll start with jiu-jitsu.
Too much touching, not enough striking.
Kung fu.
Kung fu. Let's see. I would say my biggest problem with kung fu is really the haircuts.
All right, let's do a karate.
Karate is the breaking. Training people to fight a pile of lumber is not helpful in the street.
What about kickboxing?
Kickboxing, too many rules, especially Muay Thai. I see them always training. They're always kicking flower pots with their feet or banana trees with their shins.
Yeah.
So basically it's full contact gardening.
Is there anything bullshit about Ameri-Do-Te?
No.
Nothing. Impervious
No, it's
to
the
any
it's the anti bullshit. You know how out in space there's matter and then there's antimatter?
Yes.
Ameri-Do-Te would be the anti-matter. So other martial arts would be matter.
So it's like the dark matter of martial
Yeah.
arts.
Ameri-Do-Te is the dark matter because Ameri-Do-Te matters.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Do you get any special powers from your mustache?
Yeah, it's also it's something I use for a variety of techniques.
Tickling?
Well, it's sex. Like it soaks up the blood. Like if you bite, if you bite somebody, there's going to be a lot of blood. Trust me, I'm sure you guys know. There's sure you've bitten people before.
Yeah,
but you really sink in, right? It soaks up a lot of the blood so that you can keep your grip on the opponent.
Oh, kind of like a bulldog would have the wrinkles in the face, where the blood
Exactly.
would drain down the wrinkles so they could hang on to the bite.
Yeah, same function, and it also helps the color and fullness. The more blood I get on here, the better it looks. And then sometimes I'll also use it as a. I wonder if I have a. Here. So, like, say I'm fighting myself. I would pull me, close here, and then I can use my mustache and kind of just like. It's like a Brillo pad.
Yeah. It would give him some
like
killer burn in the face.
Yeah, or you could blind somebody. They sand somebody's cornea right off their face, just
right with the mustache.
So
does it hold any special powers?
This just holds.
No, your mustache.
This just holds knickknacks.
Does your mustache hold any special powers?
Oh, well, I mean, I would say that I definitely get a lot of confidence from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you manly, I guess.
So what I think what I'm getting from this whole conversation is that everything from the mustache down to the martial art that you practice is everything's for utility, right? Like a lot of martial arts are a lot of show, a lot of pageantry, a lot of like high flying kicks. Yours is very much for a utility purpose. Like this beard that I have, this is completely just I want a beard. But your mustache has a fighting reason.
Right. Yeah, there should be a function in everything you do when you're training for real fighting. It doesn't mean we don't have forms, but we have very few forms. Number one, like kata or anything like that. And number two, we make sure that they're very practical. For instance, we have a move in the system called the thrust of freedom.
I'm familiar with the hips.
Exactly, yeah, using the hips here, right? So the main thing about the thrust of freedom is you have to make sure that there's a lot of thrust and function in the thrust. So sometimes I'll just stand at my desk here and just sort of work
Yeah, that's
my
really
different
good.
thrusts. and kind of just, and this is all function, I'll pretend the wall is an opponent and just thrust right in. I'll pretend that somebody's behind me and just bam, just slamming into the wall. And I get a great discount on drywall.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the thrust of freedom, and I tried to incorporate it into one of my my female-only classes because I thought it could be a really useful tool for their self-defense, but they just got a little bit weirded out for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, that's a liability issue. You're going to want to make sure. That's why I have female students to thrust each other.
Smart.
Just in terms of, not that I'm assuming their gender.
Yeah. Will you tell us a little bit about the book that you have that just came out?
Here you go. It's called The Dow of Master Ken, and it is an instructional booklet with some of my most devastating techniques. As you can see, the thrust of freedom, some step-by-step instructions. A lot of people ask me when they see this, they ask me why the book is in black and white. The main reason for that is that all of the things that have happened in this book happened in the past.
Okay.
So it's like when you see older movies, like they used to all be in color, but then as they get older, the color goes away because they're so old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same with the book. These are very old techniques. So you have to signify to the reader, this is not happening right now. So they don't, they'll get vertigo and have problems. But you can get this on Amazon. If you want an autograph copy, you can go to enterthedojoshow.com, and for a couple bucks more, you get a personalized autograph copy.
That's awesome. Why did you decide to do a show? What made you want to film your techniques? Wouldn't you want people to not know your devastating moves?
Oh, well, I mean, this is just a drop in the bucket as far as what I show people. It's a drop in the ocean as far as what actually gets out there. 99.9% of my techniques will always be secret and just my own personal stuff. So I'm not worried about that. In terms of a show, it's just people bothering me, telling me that they just said the world's got to see this. I had filmmakers come in here all the time and say, "Oh my God, this is crazy. You're crazy. You're wild." They would say.
It was definitely insightful.
Yeah, and they would just come in and just say, we got to show the world this. We need the world to know. And so eventually, I just agreed.
What if somebody came in and said Ameri-Do-Te is bullshit? What would you say to that?
Well, that comes back into the challenging thing, right? I mean, sign the waiver, and we'll find out.
Right. Well, just like in jiu-jitsu, we have guys that challenge us, and they're not usually willing to actually go along with it.
Right. It's like the Gracie challenge.
Yeah.
Right. You know how they used to have to fight people?
Yes.
They don't even, they don't anymore. But back before they were really popular, they'd fight anybody.
Did you ever think about doing mixed martial arts?
I mean, I do mixed martial arts. It's just not called that. I do the street version where I take the best stuff and turn it into a killing thing. If it's a sport, no. It's just like I've never thought of playing water polo.
Yeah. It's interesting. Water polo is one of those sports, yeah. Well, Master Ken, I don't know. Chewy, you got anything else?
No, man, it was fun talking to you. Like I said, your show is really insightful to us traditional martial artists that do, like just the one style, like jiu-jitsu or do boxing and all that stuff. So it kind of opened the eyes, just like the original UFC. The original UFC opened up a lot of people to groundwork, and then I think your show opened up to people to the bullshit of most martial arts.
Yeah, I can testify that I've opened a lot of people up.
It's really good.
It's awesome.
I'm glad you did. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. It was
thanks for having me on the show, and stop wasting your time on the BJJ and transfer over to Ameri-Do-Te.
Yes. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Again, you guys can check out the book at enterthedojo.com.
Enterthedojoshow.com, or just Google Master Ken. I'm all over the Googles.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Us.
Thank you, everybody, for checking out this episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Thank you to our guest, Master Ken, for joining us. Follow him on Instagram at Master Ameri-Do-Te. Also, head over to YouTube. Check out his YouTube channel, Enter the Dojo. It's awesome. It's a funny show with tons of spoofs and crazy silliness on martial arts. So you'll love that if you haven't checked that out. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, Charlotte's Web CBD. Head over to cwhemp.com. Use the promo code Chewjitsu10 and you'll get 10% off your total purchase price of CBD products. Head over to iTunes, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review if you love the podcast. We'd really appreciate that. It helps us out. It helps us grow the podcast. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.